And we're finally back here to talk about some OU football recruiting. We've been out the past week or so with just not feeling well. Had a really bad cough lingering after that. Still might have it a little bit intermittent, but we're back. And listen, the recruiting scene for Oklahoma, it's starting to get a little interesting. You're starting to see Oklahoma's strategy and who they're going after on the recruiting trail maybe change a little bit. It's definitely shocking me, and I think it might start to shock some other fans as all of this starts to unfold. So today we're going to talk about some of the recruitments that Oklahoma's involved in regarding Bo Bentley, a five-star linebacker, and then also what's going on with running back recruiting, because that's where I think Oklahoma potentially has some of the most intriguing updates that are developing at this time. Before we do that, though, as always, I want to hear from y'all, so make sure you join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts if you're new to the channel. Wipe your feet. Hit that like. Hit the subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And yeah, let's just go ahead and let's jump right into it. So we're going to start at the quarterback position because I think I've seen a lot of you guys over the past week, 2 weeks, really start to ask questions on, is Jaden O'Neal going to stay a part of this class? All the Oklahoma fans saw that he transferred to Mustang High School. So he is now in the state, transferring from California. That seems like a pretty big investment, right? For a quarterback to be committed to a school, move in state, and play his final year of high school at Oklahoma. Now, I mean, it's important to note that, Jaden O'Neal now has an opportunity to just play football, right? Put the politics aside and everything else. Just come out here, play football, try to win a state championship. And Oklahoma fans right now get an opportunity to come watch their potential future quarterback, play senior year of high school. How often do you really get to see that in Oklahoma? Now, I know Kevin Sperry made the move to Carl Albert, so a lot of fans are kind of trying to make the comparison and say, oh, well, maybe Jaden O'Neal won't stick, especially with the recruitment of Bo Bentley. And this is kind of where my thoughts are with Bo. I talked to somebody the other day around that, somebody that would kind of know a little bit about Bo Bentley's recruitment. And they kind of told me that they think Ohio State is going to be in a really good position, has positioned themselves well, and next to Oklahoma are probably going to be the school to come out here and maybe pull off a commitment from Bo Bentley. And in fact, they said they think it is more likely that Bo Bentley commits to Ohio State than it is that Bo Bentley commits to Oklahoma. So what does that mean? Well, that still means Jaden O'Neal right now is your only quarterback in the class. It's obvious Oklahoma wants to take 2 QBs in this cycle, and it makes sense because you don't want to end up in another situation like 2022 where you get a quarterback that gets hurt and you don't have the depth, right? So, but I think this is a situation where you go out there and get you another guy like a Brandon Zerbrug from 2 cycles ago, or a guy like a Jet New from last cycle, where they're more there for a development quarterback, a guy that maybe down the road could be a really good backup for you, but likely probably never going to be a starter at the University of Oklahoma. I think if you're Oklahoma, that's what you got to look for, because Jaden O'Neal, his arm talent, although maybe isn't going to come into the system right away and just, listen, this could be wrong, but although he might not come into the system right away and just blow everybody's socks off and be 100% ready, Jaden O'Neal's arm talent is absolutely incredible. So throughout his senior year and the time that it takes for him to get on campus, if he's able to fine tune that a little bit, refine his skill set a little bit, become a little bit more accurate, Jaden O'Neal could be one hell of a damn quarterback and obviously be one of the top quarterbacks taken in that NFL draft class, which is how 247 and a lot of these recruiting services end up doing their rankings. They rank them based off where they think they will ultimately end up getting drafted. And quite honestly, like I've said this many times, I think Jaden O'Neal is the better quarterback over Bo Bentley. Bo Bentley might be a little bit more ready to come in and play college right away. Well, I say play college right away. Play in Ben Arbuckle's scheme right away. But Jaden O'Neal has the higher upside. And Jaden O'Neal can come into the system because, listen, we heard Ben Arbuckle talk about coming into Oklahoma, adapting his system to the personnel that was currently on campus this year. Why can't he do that for a guy like Jaden O'Neal, a guy that you already have committed, a guy that you should be pushing all your chips in for? Because it seems like Jaden O'Neal's committed to you, but, and again, this is my opinion, it feels like Oklahoma is not married to Jaden O'Neal, and they're trying to recruit over him by getting a guy like Bo Bentley. And you might be saying, well, what do you mean by that? Because if we want to take two quarterbacks, most schools nowadays are not landing two top 150 quarterbacks. It's just not going to happen in the NIL era. So keep that in mind. But Jaden O'Neal being here in Mustang High School, I think that's going to be big. It's going to be big for him to be able to potentially develop more relationships with Ben Arbuckle. Now, he did take a visit out to University of Georgia. I was told it did go pretty well. Georgia does run things a little bit different than Oklahoma. I think you saw that with Kirby Smart's comments the other day about how he doesn't want to hire a GM, and Oklahoma has hired a GM. You know, Oklahoma's kind of going more to that NFL model. I would assume Georgia kind of runs similar style, but I don't know. I'm not in those rooms. I'm not in those discussions, but the visit did go well. And this is like a due diligence thing, right? Like if Bo Bentley was to come to Oklahoma and Oklahoma really didn't want Jaden O'Neal now is exploring his options, keeping them open in case Oklahoma, for some reason, does not want Jaden, which I think would be an absolute mistake. But Jaden O'Neal, right now, your 26 quarterback. I don't think Oklahoma fans really need to worry too much about that. I think what we really need to worry about right now is looking at the running back position for Oklahoma in this 26 cycle and who Oklahoma could potentially land in this cycle. Now, obviously, we've talked a lot about Jonathan Hatton Jr., who was previously committed to Oklahoma, was just recently back on campus. The relationship between him and DeMarco Murray, it's strong. Jonathan Hatton does love the University of Oklahoma, and this is a guy that I 100% could see recommitting after maybe official visit season. Again, Jonathan Hatton committed really early in the cycle, so this is an opportunity for him to reopen things up and just check the boxes, make sure he's committing to the right place and the place that he ultimately wants to spend his college career. Now, the question is who is going to fill the second running back spot? Because you're really ideally only going to take two running backs, especially if you're going to get a guy like Davian Gross, who I think Oklahoma right now leads for. Although Davian Gross plays a wide receiver, he can play a little bit of running back. And as I've told you, I kind of compare Davian Gross to a Deebo Samuel type of player. And so, you know, with knowing that, I think you're going to take two true pure running backs. And if you're going to get a guy like Jonathan Hatton, who I think we all expect at this point, who's going to be the second one. We've talked a lot about a guy like Caden Jones. And then obviously you've heard a lot about Rylan Morris, who's currently committed to Baylor. Now, obviously, all of the intel suggests that Rylan Morris will end up flipping to Oklahoma. That right now, Oklahoma has positioned themselves in a great spot to do just that. However, you have a lot of in-state Oklahoma fans that are like, let's go get the in-state kid. Let's go get Caden Jones, who has a really good relationship with Jaden O'Neal. Followed up with a couple people, a couple sources the other day, and it really feels like, surprisingly, shockingly, Oklahoma might be moving off or moving away from Katie Jones. And it's honestly a shocking, surprising move. Did not expect to see that one coming. Now, obviously, Caden Jones right now still has an official visit set with Oklahoma. And, you know, if Rylan Morris comes off the table, maybe Caden Jones comes back on the table for Oklahoma. But I do think with Oklahoma right now not pushing as hard, I don't know how that sits with the Jones family. But you would imagine that they felt like maybe they should be having some priority here, being an in-state kid. So just keep that in mind. The running back position could get a little dicey in who Oklahoma goes out there and takes. If they can't flip a guy like Rylan Morris, they might have to go out there and pivot to another guy later in the cycle. So just keep that one in mind. Now, obviously, lastly but not least, linebacker. Five-star linebacker Talanoa Ely was on campus recently to watch one of the OU practices. This is a guy that Oklahoma kind of came out of the woodshed for publicly in the recruitment space. Talanoa Ely would be a really great prospect. I did talk to somebody else the other day, and they still believe that Talanoa Ely is going to end up on the West Coast. So you're looking at the West Coast schools like USC, like Oregon. They're the two front runners right now. Obviously, USC thinks they're getting everybody, but Oregon is in prime position. They got the money. They've got all of the things that, could potentially keep Talanoa Ely on the West Coast. Now, if Oklahoma with Ben Arbuckle, or not Ben Arbuckle, with Brent Venables, Nate Dreiling, Wes Goodwin. Obviously, we've seen Wes Goodwin and Brent Venables be able to pull off heists before at the linebacker position. They recruit very well at this position. So I'm going to be curious to see, can a guy like Wes Goodwin do for you what he did so often at the University of Clemson alongside Brent Venables and without Brent Venables? Because if you can land a guy like Talanoa Ely, and then, you go out here and you look at a guy like Braxton Lindsey out of the state of Arkansas, who I think a lot of us really like his athleticism. You've got Sinceri Johnson up in Cleveland, Ohio. You've got a guy like Ja'Cory Smith out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And then you've got the Bo. I really hope I get this right. It's Jandro out of Arizona and his twin brother. And then DJ Ackerson out of Oklahoma City. There's a lot of different prospects for Oklahoma to go after here. So intriguing to see how the linebacker position is going to shape up. Oklahoma's in a good spot with Talanoa Ely. I would not say they're leading here by any means, but they're in a good spot. You're getting an official visit. I think you're getting the first crack at him on June 6th, which is always good news here because now Oklahoma can go out there and set the tone. So I want to hear from y'all. Make sure you guys join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and you guys hit that subscribe button.